Somebody recently asked me, hey Nick, why do we get more power on the overhead compared to the serve? And the answer to this question is quite simple, and it is an important subject to talk about. So the reason why players feel more power on the overhead compared to the serve is the speed of the incoming ball. Obviously, when we toss the ball to ourselves on the serve, we have to generate all the power by ourselves. We do pick up a little bit more power from a higher toss. That's why you see a lot of the WTA players who often depend more of the natural ways to get power. They often toss the ball a little bit higher. This is also true for the volleyball serve. If you see a professional volleyball serve, you see that they throw the ball way up into the air, they let it come down. And of course, the volleyball is a lot heavier than the tennis ball. And the ball does pick up some momentum as it's dropping. And then as you hit the ball, you can utilize that momentum to your advantage. Now, one experiment that you can do is as you're rallying with your partner and you're hitting forehands, and on one of the shots that your partner hits long, instead of letting the ball go, take a swing volley from behind the baseline. What you will feel is that you get a lot more power on the swing volley from behind the baseline. In other words, a ball that you take in out of the air compared to a regular forehand. Why? Because when the incoming ball hits the ground takes a lot of power out of the ball. And on the question regarding the overhead and the serve, you have to realize that when we hit an overhead, we don't load the body as aggressively as we do on the serve. We don't lean forwards, we don't get as low of a knee bend, we don't put our hip into the court, we don't bend our body backwards like this, we don't coil as much either like we do on the serve. We don't need to do any of that. Why? Because we're using the pace of the incoming ball and we can hit the ball with the same speed. As a side note, we can't load the body like that anyway. Why? Because we are tracking the ball in the overhead and we have to keep our feet moving, and would be very counterintuitive to track the ball like this on the overhead. So for those reasons, the overhead can be struck extremely fast with a limited amount of power sources. On the other hand, on the serve, we toss the ball is going to be very slowly traveling into the air, and we have to utilize our body to support the arm and to maximize our power potential. But in the grand scheme of your tennis development, you have to be aware of the pace of the incoming ball. When you're playing tennis, you cannot apply the same technique on all shots. You have to be cognizant of the fact that when the ball is struck very slowly, something that a lot of recreational players struggle with, you have to utilize your power sources a lot more regarding your forehand and your backhand. On the other hand, when the ball is coming very fast, you can work with some of that pace and you can do a lot less and get the same result. You have to be cognizant of the pace of the incoming ball. It is not only one of the biggest power sources that we can naturally utilize, but it's also one of the biggest sources of mistakes, where players ignore the speed of the incoming ball, hit all their shots the same way, and for that reason, they commit a lot of mistakes.